Game Freak gave us a ton of brand new Paradox Pokemon in the extra DLC content, which gave us a different perspective on two legendary trios. One, the legendary beasts of Johto, being interpreted as dinosaurs from the distant past, and two, the Swords of Justice, representing cyborgs of justice in the future, which is cool and all, but what if these two legendary trios swap timelines? What if the Swords of Justice fell into the past and the legendary beasts became cybernetic beasts? Well, thanks to this stellar artist Ondu region, we have visual representation of what these Pokemon would look like if they swap timelines. The amazing artist's links will be in the pinned comments down below, so be sure to check them out. And now it's time to showcase these amazing swapped Paradox Pokemon, starting with the Swords of Justice in the past. Let's start things off by taking a look at Virizion. Introducing Foliage Fury, the Grass Dragon type Paradox Pokemon. And now, first off, this design is spectacular representation of an ancient relative to Virizion, and I love how it continues the theme of dinosaur-like Pokemon, with it clearly being based off of a raptor. I mean, check out the middle toe. And as for its stats, this Pokemon is extremely fast and can pack quite a punch, with average stats all around. However, despite its look and name, Foliage Fury are quite peaceful and typically flee from any confrontation with others, probably why it has such a high speed stat. But on top of that, this ancient Pokemon is known to secrete a healing substance from absorbing the sun's rays. Think aloe vera. It also has access to moves like Zen Headbutt and Scale Shot. But there's one more important thing we need to tackle with this ancient Pokemon, and that's its signature move. Yup, it looks like every single legendary Paradox Pokemon has a signature move of some kind, so we gotta keep that going. Introducing Solar Fury, which is essentially a grass type hurricane that has a 30% chance to inflict a random status affliction, and when used during sunlight can bypass the accuracy check to always land a hit. Nothing too overpowered, and I feel like it complements this Pokemon pretty nicely. But what do you think? Now moving on to the next Sword of Justice, Terrakion, and its ancient counterpart, meet Stony Horns, the Rock Dragon type Paradox Pokemon. And I absolutely love how this Pokemon resembles a gargoyle, which is kind of amazing when you think about it being a part rock type. Now, it's said that this Pokemon's scales are extremely tough, and its horn can break through pretty much anything, including rocks and diamonds. In fact, it's said that many cave systems around the world have been constructed by these magnificent creatures. And as for its stats, it's a fast physical sweeper. Its health and defense are also pretty respectable, allowing it to survive a flurry of enemies. It's also got access to moves like X-Scissor and Outrage, but what makes Stony Horns a truly terrifying Pokemon is its signature move, Stony Impact, which can pierce through any Pokemon's defenses, meaning moves like Protect and Detect are absolutely useless. However, this move cannot be used in succession, or else its chance of failure is increased. Now, I added the second part as a way to prevent every A-presser in existence from just completely sweeping, but I think it honestly helps balance this thing out. Now it's time to check out the leader of the Swords of Justice and Cobalion's ancient relative. Introducing Royal Dragon, the Steel Dragon type Paradox Pokemon. This Pokemon's design isn't exactly a dinosaur. However, if you consider dragons a sort of prehistoric dinosaur, then yeah, it kind of works. It's said that this Pokemon moves through the sky so elegantly that it's very hard to predict its movement. It's also known to be covered completely in platinum scales that help increase its attack without hindering its mobility. And when it comes to its stats, you can see that this Pokemon is a fast tank, has an impressive special attack stat with access to moves like Flash Cannon and Dragon Pulse. However, its signature move is another impressive one, and it's called Platinum Scales, which increases the defense and special defense of this Pokemon by one stage and reduces the damage from the next attack it takes by 25%. Now, this secondary effect does not stack, however, does stay in effect until Royal Dragon takes a hit, really complementing its overall design and kit. But that's it for the three Swords of Justice. Which ones are your favorite? I personally love all three, and their shinies are truly spectacular. Now it's time to dive into the future and check out the legendary beasts turned cyborgs. But before we do that, quick reminder to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're into this kind of content. Helps me gauge interest so we can make more of this type of content. Now, on to the future, starting with Suicune's future relative. Meet Iron Crystal, the water ice type Paradox Pokemon. And holy crap, am I speechless with this design. I've never been a fan of future robotic Pokemon designs. Like, none of the future Paradox Pokemon really land for me. but Iron Crystal here is definitely turning me into a believer. But first, let's check out why this Pokemon was even created in the first place. It's said that it was created in an effort to combat climate change and preserve healthy waters of the planet. But due to humanity's constant contamination, yep, that's us, Iron Crystal developed its own consciousness and now unleashes its anger by freezing everything in its path. Theories suggest that its consciousness was created by the culmination of resentful Pokemon souls. But one thing's for sure, this Pokemon is not friendly. I really like the idea that future Pokemon are kind of chaotic since they aren't naturally created and instead are man-made machines, enhancing humanity's constant error dealing with nature. As for its stats, this Pokemon is a pretty solid tank with an amazingly high special attack and has access to moves like Frost Breath, Dazzling Gleam, and Shadow Ball. But what makes Iron Crystal truly scary is, yup, you guessed it, its signature move, Aurora Mirror, which returns 1.5 times the damage dealt by the foe's last attack. So think Metal Burst, but for an ice type, which works really well with Iron Crystal's already low speed stat. Now let's move on to a hotter climate and reveal Entei's future Paradox relative. Introducing Iron Plasma, the Fire Steel type Paradox Pokemon. And real quick, this thing's shiny version is probably the coolest shiny Pokemon I've ever laid eyes on. That blue and black color scheme is a 10 out of 10 in my book. Now, as for this Pokemon, it's said that it relies on thermal energy to function, converting the energy allowing it to move and traverse. How it does so is by absorbing heat from the earth through its legs, which it can then convert into concentrated plasma cannons, which can easily cut through the toughest of substances, including diamonds. Whoa. Wouldn't want to tick this guy off. Its stats make it pretty fast and specially invested, regardless of its bulky design. And it's got access to moves like Earth Power and Weather Ball, but its signature ability might be a bit too strong. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. Introducing Plasma Beam, a fire special move that penetrates all protection and also hits all foes on the field. So double battles, watch out, cause this thing's cooking. Now its base power is a little lower than Stony Impact because Plasma Beam doesn't have the drawback of failing in succession, but I think this Pokemon's overall kit is something that would cook up the competitive world. And speaking of competitive Pokemon, now let's check out the final legendary beast counterpart to a Pokemon that dominates the competitive ladder. Introducing Iron Predator, the electric dark type Paradox Pokemon. And man, oh man, does this Pokemon look like it can sweep. And its stats suggest that as well. With it being a mixed attacker and having access to moves like Dark Pulse and Overheat, this thing is easily one of my favorite Paradox Pokemon we never got. And as for its story, it's said that it can max its speed from 0 to 500 kilometers an hour in a fraction of a second, all from using its thrusters. Oh, and its fangs are charged with an electrical current that can heat up, allowing them to pierce any surface. Taking all of this into account, you already know we had to give this Pokemon a legendary signature ability. Introducing Piercing Strike, the dark type physical move that has a +1 priority and always lands in a crit, which makes it absolutely based. And there you have it. Now, which one of these Pokemon do you think takes the crown as the best time-swapped Paradox Pokemon? Thanks for watching. Check out this video next and see you soon. Bye.